Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel, coming to you on both KTN and KTN News. Tonight, what a guest. Outgoing Swiss ambassador to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, and Seychelles. By the way, he's going back to Switzerland to be the Director General at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Some promotion. But in his own words, he's gonna miss this place. So much potential, so much going for it. Listen up, folks. Maybe we can take a bit of a lesson from a man on the outside looking in. My Twitter handle, @Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. My guest all this evening has been outgoing Swiss ambassador, Jacques Pitteloud. As we're talking in the break, Ambassador, you know, politics is a religion here. And, you know, we are so possessed with politics. Every weekend there's some rally, every newspaper headline is political. And I was thinking, look, do you even know who your president is?
Actually, I had to struggle. I had to struggle to remember because we change president every year. So you know, it's difficult to remember the name. And the president is more of a, you know, we need to have a president when we meet other heads of state. So every year we have one, but it's one of the 7 members of the government, and the powers, he has no, or he or she, in that case, she has no special powers.
None.
No.
And most of the people don't really know who the president is at the time.
No, and they don't care.
And they don't care.
Because it's, you know, Switzerland is organized a bit like a company, and our government would more be like the board of directors, you know, and we elect them to administer the country. You know, so when you're talking about politics and politics in the blood, for somebody who comes from Europe in general, what happens here is not politics, because there is no fight about ideology. Do we want more socialism? No, it's about me. I want to be there and eat. Well, that's not politics. That's a fight for access to resources, but it has nothing to do with politics. And that is something that I think is going to change in the future in Kenya.
Will it? I was going to ask you that.
It will. It will. The day the middle class and the business class, I mean, you know, the private sector will realize that they can't be manipulated forever, and they produce the wealth, and the wealth is being eaten by others. And one day they will say, okay, now it's enough, you know, and now we also have to meddle into politics. Because it's very interesting to see how in Kenya, the people who really create the wealth of this nation are staying away from politics. They don't speak about pangas. They don't send the GSU to grab some land of a school to expand the parking lot of their hotels. You know, they don't do these things in the private sector. They don't. So they don't speak to the politicians, or maybe at every election they finance a bit all sides, just to make sure that they're on the safe side. But it will be one day the middle class and the private sector will have to speak up and to say, you know what, we are producing the wealth in this country. So at least, you know, let us develop this country. This country should have a growth rate of 15%. This country has everything. This country has the best education system in sub-Saharan Africa. It has a situation, a geostrategic location, perfect. It has infrastructure. Of course, a bit rickety and whatever, but still an incredible infrastructure. It has a service sector that is the best in Africa. Come on. This country should be in the sky.
And yet. Right? Is that disappointing for someone like you looking at it?
Yes, it is. When I came in 2010, there was quite a feeling of hope because of the new constitution, because the PEV was, you know, behind Kenya, because all over the region things were going a bit better. Nowadays, 5 years later, I'm a bit sad. I'm a bit sad because this country should be doing better and has all the means to do better. Yeah.
But let's face it, Pelosi, you guys were savages not too long ago, a few hundred years ago. You guys were pretty, you know, you were slaughtering each other. You were. Yeah,
we were. Even the Swiss, who are better known now for chocolate, cuckoo clocks, and punctuality of the trains, we used to be savages indeed. We had our fair share of civil wars. Now, you know, having been through it, do we really want other people to go through the same disasters, or can we try and help and say, listen, don't go through this very, very difficult time, and go directly to where we are? And Kenya could do that. Other countries will struggle because they don't have the same conditions. But Kenya, my God, this country, I mean, God was unfair. God was unfair to the rest of the world, you know?
And we don't see that.
A guy was sitting there on the Mount Koinange, and he looked at his work and was very, very happy, you know.
Yeah.
And all the other people in the world were saying, hey, you know, why did you give these guys so much?
And then he said, wait till you see the leaders.
Wait until you see the politicians. That's what he said. But yeah, the panga-wielding politicians.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, he talked about the bad thing, or the negative about Kenya, where we could have been. What's been the best part?
The best part of Kenya is that everything in this country is extreme. Everything is very intense. The bad guys are bad guys like in a Hollywood movie, or even worse. You know, they are just, you can't be worse. The good guys are really good guys. The good guys are heroes because they are fighting bad guys who are really dangerous. You meet the most extraordinary people in this country, be it in civic society, be it in the private sector, you know, be it in the world of media. You know, you meet people who are really second to none. There is a new breed, for instance, of CEOs in this country, of Kenyan CEOs, who eat Kenyan cuisine.
Yeah, who don't mind Kenyan food.
They don't mind Kenyan food, no. And this new breed of Kenyan CEOs, they are absolutely exceptional. They would be CEOs anywhere.
Yeah.
They are not here because they had political connections or whatever. They are just absolutely excellent. And these guys, you know, could make a difference. Yeah.
Worst part, other than where we could have been? What's most disappointing?
My worst moment in Kenya was when I was going to actually one of your competition for the 9 o'clock news to speak about Anglo leasing, and there were 15 minutes of a report on the Molo people of Lake Turkana starving, but not just being hungry, starving. Pictures that could have been out of Ethiopia in the 80s. And you could see these guys crawling on the ground because they couldn't walk anymore. And you know what? Nobody cared in Nairobi because they're so far away. It's north of Isiolo anyway. You know? Yeah. That was my worst moment of misery. I actually exploded on air. And I said, do you realize now why we want to repatriate the money to Kenya? Because people in your country, in the richest country in Eastern Africa, are starving. They're dying out there. Something needs to be done. And of course, in the end, it was Kenya Red Cross who went, as usual. As usual.
Basculate.
Yeah, of course. They are always the first in, last out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You were talking about infrastructure a moment ago below the Nairobi infrastructure.
It's been beautified.
For one man.
Yeah.
Just for Obama?
Coming home. Yeah. Now, listen, I have my doubts about my American friends sometimes. You know, okay, President Obama is coming and it's going to be a great success, and I'm sure many Kenyan people will be very happy to see him. But they missed a golden opportunity. He should have taken Kenny Rogers with him. Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine the traffic jam all the way from Nanyuki all the way to Kasarani? Yes. You know, there would have been everybody in their Stetson hats, the boots. It would have been absolutely.
And singing, you got to know when to hold them.
Of course, the coward of the county. That would have been, you know. He missed it. Well, maybe it's the surprise. Maybe he's taking Kenny Rogers with him.
By the way, tomorrow night is U.S. Ambassador Bob Godek. He's coming on.
I've been trying, everybody has been trying to pry open, you know, the Chamber of Secrets, you know, when he's not giving anything away. Forget it. He's not going to.
At all?
No. Even to fellow ambassadors.
Come on. What is it? It's just 1-2-day visit. What's the big deal?
You know, the man is target. The man is target. No, I think that the Obama visit is going to be very, very important because he has very important messages to deliver. And you will have another visit.
The Pope?
The Pope.
Yes.
And this Pope, listen to what he has to say.
Extraordinary.
I'm not sure everybody will be happy about that, about what he has to say, but he will have many things.
You think Obama will touch on homosexuals?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not, and I will tell you why. You know, it's very funny to see how naive the Muzungu can be in Africa. You know, the Muzungu comes with a set of values, and he says certain things are extremely important, and then very astute African politicians realize that if you put the knife where it hurts, everything else will just disappear. You know. So what happened in Uganda? You know, the guys who pushed this anti-homosexuality bill, they didn't care. They couldn't care less about homosexuality.
Correct.
But they got a lot of money from certain churches, so it helped them for the. And then, of course, it's perfect. You can push the foreign policy of Western countries to speak only about one thing. By the way, here in Kenya, gays and lesbians had a peaceful life so far. Now certain politicians have taken the drift of what was done in Uganda. Hey, we can make political capital, you know, mileage out of this. And suddenly they start speaking about, you know, African values. African values. I mean, homosexuality existed before colonization.
It did.
And actually, when they are speaking of the Bible, with all due respect, the Bible was not an African book. So I think we should let the matter rest. Personally, I would let the matter rest. I think because you will just fuel the anti-gay and lesbian campaign by speaking too much about it. I know it's a very controversial view.
Sure.
Also with Western ambassadors, one shouldn't speak too much about that, because in the end, who will be the victims?
The locals.
The locals will be the victims. And so far they were, you know, children of very powerful politicians themselves. Everybody knows, and nobody bothered them. They were having a nice life.
Yeah.
Now it will become really, really dangerous. But it will be much more dangerous for the poor people who are living out there in the slums.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you know any politicians who are gay?
May I pass? May I pass on this question? I do and you do. Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah. Some business people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No names mentioned.
Oh no, of course not. You don't want to go to committee, do you? I mean, yeah.
But you're saying the church, the hypocrisy of the church is another thing in this country, yeah? The hypocrisy.
Well, it's actually more the hypocrisy of the churchgoer. You know, I mean, I come from a country where religiosity has really gone into the abyss. Maybe 5–10% of the people go to church. I belong to that 5 or 10%, but at least, you know, we believe in what we are preaching. Here, you know, you can see the worst, but really the worst criminals. And again, I'm not going to name names, you know. And before every meeting, you know, they will go into the, oh Lord, you know, bless this meeting and whatever, you know. I mean, this is insulting the name of the Lord, if you ask me. It's insulting the name of the Lord. And sometimes I hope that the Lord loses his patience and goes, boom, you know, kaboom, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and now it's to show you because you know, you can't go to church every Sunday and start every meeting invoking the name of the Lord and then do the things they do. I mean, it's not, or maybe they didn't really read the Bible the way I do.
Well, you know, that's very questionable and could be very true. But also, we've literally got 2 minutes to go, so look into that camera there. Your final message to Kenyans as you depart this country and region.
This is the most extraordinary country I've been given the chance to serve in, and I will be so sad leaving this country. I've had the best 5 years of my life. I've met the most extraordinary people. I've seen a country that is probably second to none in terms of its natural beauty, and to go back to a desk job in an office building in Switzerland is probably a bit tough, but you know, well, it's a tough life, but that's the life of a diplomat.
You'll be back, won't you?
I don't know, as a tourist certainly, yeah.
And you can film more birds.
I will.
Did they ever give you a Kenyan name?
Actually, my wife, who is East African, as you know, you know her.
Yes.
Actually, she's one, and she has always called me Simba, so it's an East African name. So.
Simba.
What can
I wonder why she called you that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can we add another one?
Ndege?
I was gonna say,
I knew it.
because you're a bird lover, right?
Yes.
We'll call you Kanyoni.
Kanyoni, it's the small bird. In Kenya, Rwanda, a Kanyoni.
Also?
Yeah, of course.
Kanyoni.
Kanyoni.
Good luck,
Okay.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you, man. All the very best to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
Outgoing Swiss ambassador to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, and Seychelles, Jacques Pitteloud, giving us his insights on the last 5 years, and make that 21 years because he went all the way back to Rwanda. He's been here and he's seeing for himself, and he's telling us that this country has so much potential. We could be so far away, and yet, and yet, and yet. Some words for thought there. Let's think about it going forward. If folks from the outside can see what our potential is and we don't, who do we have to blame? On that note, keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. And as I said earlier on, tomorrow night, U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Bob Godek, on, among other things, the upcoming visit by U.S. President Barack Obama, and yes, that infamous statement, choices have consequences. Oh my, it's gonna be a show. Thanks for watching. Keep watching right here on KTN and KTN News. Thanks for watching. Good night. Good luck. Sana Pelosi.